Chapter 2: Why structures carry loads, or the springiness of solids. Let us begin at the beginning with Newton, who said that action and reaction are equal and opposite. This means that every push must be matched and balanced by an equal and opposite push. It does not matter how the push arises. It may be a dead load, for instance, that is to say, a stationary weight of some kind. If I weigh 200 pounds and stand on the floor, then the sole of my feet push downwards on the floor with a push or thrust of 200 pounds. That is the business of feet. At the same time, the floor must push upward on my feet with a thrust of 200 pounds. That is the business of floors. If the floor is rotten and cannot furnish a thrust of 200 pounds, then I shall fall through the floor. If, however, by some miracle, the floor produces a large thrust than my feet have come upon it to produce, say, 201 pounds, then the result would be still more surprising because, of course, I should become airborne. The new side of strong materials, or why you don't fall through the floor. We might start by asking how it is that any inanimate solid such as steel or stone or timber or plastic is able to resist a mechanical force at all, or even to sustain its own weight. This is essentially the problem of why we don't fall down, why we don't fall through the floor, and the answer is by no means obvious. It lies at the root of the whole study of structures and is intellectually difficult. In the event, it proved too difficult for Galileo, and the credit for the achievement of any real understanding of the problem is due to that very cantankerous man, Robert Hooke. In the first place, Hooke realized that if a material or structure is to resist a load, it can only do so by pushing back at it with an equal and opposite force. If your feet push down on the floor must push up on your feet. If a cathedral pushes down on its foundations, the foundations must put up on the cathedral. This is implicit in Newton's third law of motion, which, it will be remembered, is about action and reaction being equal and opposite. In other words, a force cannot just get lost always, and whatever happens, every force must be balanced and reacted by another equal and opposite force at every point throughout a structure. This is true for any kind of structure, however small and simple, or however large and complicated it may be. It is true not only for floor and cathedral, but also for rice and aeroplanes and balloons and furniture and lion and tiger and capis and earthworms. If this condition is not fulfilled, that is to say, if all the forces are not in equilibrium or balance with each other, then either the structure will break or else the whole affair must take off like rocket and end up somewhere in outer space. The latter result is frequently implicit in the examination answer of engineering students. Let us consider for a moment the simplest possible structure. Suppose that we hang away, such as an ordinary brick, from some support, which might be the branch of a tree by means of a piece of string. Figure 1. The weight of a brick, like a weight of Newton's apple, is due to the effect on the Earth's gravitational field upon its mass, and it acts continually downwards. If the brick is not to fall, then it must be certain in its position in mid-air by a continuing equal and opposite upward force of pulling the string. If the string is too weak, so that it cannot produce an upward force equal to the weight of the brick, then the string will break and the brick will fall to the ground again like Newton's apple. Figure 1. The weight of brick acting downwards must be supported by an equal and opposite upward pull or tension in the string. However, if the string is a strong one, so that we are able to hang not one but two bricks from it, then the string will now have to produce twice as much as forward force. That is enough to support both bricks, and so on. Of course, for any other variation of the load. Moreover, the load does not have to be a dead weight, such as a brick force arising from any other cause, such as the pressure of the wire must be resisted by the same sort of direction. In the case of the brick which hangs from a tree, the load is supported by the tension in the string. In other words, by a pull. In many structures, such as buildings, the load is carried in compression. That is, by pushing. In both cases, the general principles are the same. Thus, if any structural system is to do the job, that is to say, if the load is supported in a satisfactory way so that nothing very much happens, then it must somehow manage to produce a push or a pull which is exactly equal and the opposite to the force which is being applied to it. That is, it has to resist on push and pulls, which may happen to arise upon its doorstep by pushing and pulling back at them and just the right amount. This is on very well, and it is generally fairly easy to see why load push or pulls on a structure. The difficulty is to see why the structure should push or pull back at the load. As it happens, quite young children have had some inkling of problem from time to time. Don't stop pulling the cat tail, darling. I'm not pulling, mommy. Pushy pulling. In the case of the cat's tail, the reaction is provided by the living biological activity of the cat muscle pulling against the child muscle. But of course, this kind of active muscular reaction is not very often available, nor is it necessary. If the cat's tail had happened to be attracted, not to the cat, but to something inert, like a wall, then the wall could have to be doing the pulling, whether the resistance to the children pull is generated actively by the cat or passively by the worm, make no difference to the child or to the field. Figure 2 and 3. How then can an inert or passive thing like a wall or a string or come to that a bond or steel tube or a cathedral produce large reactive force? we can need. Figure 2. Do stop pulling the cat's tail, darling. I'm not pulling, mommy. Pussy pulling. Figure 3. It doesn't make any difference whether pussy pull or not. Hook laws, or the springiness of solid. The power of any spring is in the same proportion with the tension thereof. That is, if one power stretch or bend it on space, 2 will bend it 2, 3 will bend it 3, and so forward. And this is the rule or law of nature, upon which all manner of restitution or springing motion doth proceed. Robert Hooke. By about 1676, Hooke saw clearly that not only must solids resist weight or other mechanical loads by pushing back on them, but also that 1. Every kind of solid changes its shape by stretching or contracting itself when the mechanical force is applied to it. Figure 4 and 5. All materials and structures deflect to greatly varying extents when they are loaded. The science of elasticity is about the interaction between force and deflection. The material of the board is stretched near its upper surface and compressed or contracted near its lower surface by the weight of the monkey. 2. It is this change of shape which enables the solid to do the pushing back. Thus, when we hang a brick from the end of a piece of string, the string gets longer. And it is just this stretching which enables the string to pull upward on the brick and so prevent it from falling. All materials and structures deflect, although to greatly varying extents, when they are loaded. Figure 4 and 5. It is important to realize that it is